So, let me ask you something right off the bat. Are you just doing yoga for a couple of hours a day, or do you actually have a yogi life? It's a pretty heavy question, isn't it? Take a second to really think about that. I mean, are you just visiting a temporary state of spiritual peace, or have you unpacked your bags and fully moved in?
Welcome to This Explainer! I am absolutely thrilled to explore this with you today because we are diving into some incredibly deep spiritual knowledge. We're going to journey from what the source text calls the labor of spiritual effort, all the way to the natural, effortless embodiment of spiritual truth. Let's figure out how to shift from merely trying to be spiritual to naturally living it every single second of the day. All right, let's jump into Section 1, the authority of experience. To really get this, we need to look at the whole concept of authority. In deep spiritual understanding, the absolute greatest authority isn't intellectual, it's experience. Think about it like this. If you've tasted sugar, you know it's sweet, right? Now imagine if thousands of people suddenly swarmed you, desperately trying to convince you that sugar was actually sour. Would you believe them? No way! You have the undeniable authority of your own experience. And the text challenges us to apply this exact same absolute certainty to our spiritual identity and our self-respect. And this brilliantly illustrates the difference between two very distinct stages on the spiritual path, the effort maker and the embodiment of experience. The effort maker is someone who constantly has to try. You'll hear them use the word sometimes a lot. They'll say things like, well, I sometimes experience peace, or I really have to labor to stabilize my mind. But the embodiment of experience, for them, it's just constant. It's completely natural. It's this undeniable lived reality that doesn't require any heavy lifting. Which brings us to a really beautiful but honestly kind of challenging quote from the Almighty Authority Father in the text. Where there is love, there is no labor. Where there is labor, there is a lack of love. Just let that sink in for a moment. If you are constantly exhausted by the effort of trying to hold on to your self-respect, the text is essentially suggesting that there's a lack of true, deep love for that experience. Because when true love is there, the whole process just becomes effortless.
Moving right along to Section 2, Conquering Body Consciousness.
So what is actually standing in the way of this effortless experience? Well, it's our deeply ingrained body consciousness. Psychologists actually have a name for this. They call it the cocktail party effect. It means your physical name is so hardwired into your brain that even in a noisy, crowded room, if someone mutters a word that even sounds like your name, your attention instantly snaps over to them. That is how deeply firm body consciousness is. Our spiritual goal here is to completely rewire ourselves so that our self-respect, our soul consciousness, becomes just as automatic. But how do we actually get rid of that ingrained body consciousness? The text offers this incredibly powerful visualization. Think about walking into a dark room. You don't start waving your arms around trying to physically shove the darkness out the door, do you? Of course not. You just flip the switch. You turn on the light of self-respect, and the darkness of body consciousness automatically vanishes. You don't ever have to chase it away. You just have to flip that switch of experience. And a huge testing ground for this switch is Amrit Vela. For those who might need a quick refresher, this is that early morning time dedicated entirely to deep spiritual connection. But the text makes a really fascinating observation about this sacred time. Many spiritual seekers wake up, they sit down, and they just think. They think about sitting on Babdada's heart throne. They analyze the concepts. But here's the thing, thinking is not experiencing. The call here is to move way beyond mere thought and become completely, effortlessly lost in the actual experience of that supreme love.
Let's dive into Section 3. The 4 subjects of a yogi life.
To make absolutely sure we are embodying this experience, the text outlines a framework of 4 foundational subjects: knowledge, yoga, dharma, and service. Now, true embodiment has to happen across all 4 of these areas. If you find yourself struggling in any of them, if you say, I'm a yogi sometimes, or I'm virtuous on a good day, then you're still an effort maker. You see, they all interlink perfectly. When you master your physical organs through yoga, imbibing those virtues, which is dharma, just happens automatically. It's a literal chain reaction of spiritual power. Let's zoom in on that first subject for a second, Gyan, or knowledge. The absolutely crucial point here is that Gyan is vastly more than just listening to wisdom or, giving great spiritual lectures. The text defines the practical form of true knowledge as light and might. When you are a true embodiment of knowledge, every single action you take is automatically accurate, guided by that inner light and completely backed by spiritual might. Just reciting knowledge makes you a speaker, but living it, that transforms your actual deeds. Which brings us to Section 4, True Service in God's Family. Let's look at how service actually plays out in our relationships within the Prabhu Parivar, the godly family.
True service isn't just standing up on a stage, it is highly personal. It's an active charity towards your spiritual brothers and sisters. If someone in your spiritual family is struggling, or maybe their spiritual effort is just a bit dull, or they're battling negative personality traits, their sanskars, a true server steps right in. Your duty is to uplift them. You inject zeal and enthusiasm, and you maintain constant, unwavering good wishes.
But there is a really profound warning here. The text says, to say, this one is like that anyway, he can never change, these are not good wishes, these are subtle feelings of dislike. I mean, have you ever caught yourself thinking that about someone? We probably all have. But the text points out the stunning hypocrisy. You believe you can spiritually transform the entire world, yet you dismiss a single human soul in your own spiritual family as unchangeable? Dismissing someone like that instantly ruins the pure love required for true family life.
And that leads directly to this super powerful slogan: to speak wastefully is to disturb many others. Our thoughts and our words have a massive, massive ripple effect. When we speak carelessly or focus on others' negative traits, we aren't just messing up our own spiritual stage. We are actively disturbing the harmony of the entire wider family.
Let's move to Section 5, Becoming the Angel.
So, if we actually master our self-respect and embody knowledge and maintain this pure love for our spiritual family, what's the ultimate result? Well, it brings us to the final stage of the journey, completely shedding those last remnants of effort to take on the angelic form. The text points directly to Father Brahma as the ultimate example here. He achieved the avyekt, or angelic stage. That means being incorporeal, egoless, and viceless. But maybe the most amazing point is that he remained entirely detached from the suffering of his own karma. Even at the very end of his life, carrying immense responsibility, he never showed the suffering of his physical karma to anyone. He just maintained pure, good feelings for everyone, no exceptions.
And we are actually given the exact formula for achieving this angelic state. It's a beautifully structured blessing. Step 1 happens in the mind. You have to harness churning power, which is the ability to deeply reflect on and internalize these spiritual truths. Step 2 applies to your words and actions. You absolutely must imbibe the immense power of tolerance. When you combine that deep internal reflection with external tolerance, Step 3 is practically guaranteed. The entire path of spiritual effort suddenly becomes easy and crystal clear. All that heavy labor we talked about, it just vanishes.
Finally, Section 6, the call to be ever ready.
So why is all of this so incredibly important right now? Because, honestly, there is an immense sense of urgency in this text. It contains a stark warning about sudden games of the elements. It specifically mentions unexpected earthquakes where hundreds of thousands of people pass away in just moments. Collectively, the text says a ticket is being clipped for many. At that exact moment of sudden massive upheaval, you simply cannot say, oh, hold on a second, I'm still making effort to find my peace. It doesn't work that way. You must be ever ready. You have to already be the total, absolute embodiment of your spiritual blessings.
Which leaves us with this final, genuinely provocative question straight from the avyekt signal to wrap up our explainer today. Can you remain an unshakable, detached observer amidst the shifting games of matter? If the physical world around you suddenly creates massive upheaval today, are you just trying to be peaceful? Or are you so deeply rooted in your spiritual understanding that you can observe the scenes fearlessly, completely detached and joyful? It's a pretty high standard, but it's what we're aiming for. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into spiritual experience. Take this question with you and just see how it shifts your perspective today.